Alrighty, welcome back, boys and girls. It's your main math man, Shane, coming to you live from Summon Academy. In this video, we're going to be working on that lesson 11 and lesson 12 practice, but we're going to be taking it one at a time. So for number one, it says for each pair of points, find the slope of the line that passes through both points. And then next to it on your page, I have a little graph for you if you need to use that to plot the points and kind of see where they're at. Another way I can do it is like this. I can kind of use our slope formula. So I'm going to actually do it like this. I can say our slope formula is like this. If you have two ordered pairs, again, notice how I have one ordered pair is here. So I can say x1, y, let's say y1. Then that means that this ordered pair is going to be x2, y2. Again, there's no real numbers that go with those subscripts, but I'm just saying, like I have my first point, the first x and y coordinates, and I have my second point for x2, y2. And so the way it works is like this. You're going to say your slope, my slope is going to be equal to, I can write it like this, I have y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. This is just like we've been working with where we have our change in y. Again, this is the same as change in y over change in x. So just make sure that you can have those as your options. But what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to say, okay, let's do, so for part A, I can figure it out. I'm going to have 5 minus 1, and I have 7 minus 1. This helps me build my slope. So I'm going to have 4 over 6, which is the same as 2 over 3. Make sure that you're reducing those fractions for yourself. For part B, or for that second set of points, make sure you change this around now. So I'm going to say I have 7 minus 1 over 5 minus 1. So now we should have, this is 6 over 4, which is the same as 3 over 2. All right. Moving on to part C, we have our second y value is 2. So let's have 2 minus 5 is going to be the same as negative 1 minus 2. So as I calculate these again, be able to work with those values carefully. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is the same as positive 1. So our slope is going to be 1 for that. And lastly, we have part D is going to be negative 4 minus 5 divided by negative 7 minus 2. So the main key parts are being able to set up your equations, being able to calculate it for yourself. Again, make sure you're evaluating carefully. So I'm going to say I have negative 9 divided by negative 9, which is the same as still positive 1. You can use that calculator if you need to. Moving on to number 2, it says a graph of the line A is shown on a coordinate plane, and it says what are the coordinates for B and D. So kind of like we've been doing before, again, find your location, find your points on the graph, and say, okay, I have my x value, I have my y value. Again, the ordered pair, I'll write this down for you. Again, an ordered pair is going to be those x, y coordinates. Not sure why this is messing up. Coordinates. So that's just saying like an x value and a y value. You need both to have an ordered pair. So it says, okay, point B is going to be 4, 0, and then point D is going to be 8, 10. And then for part B, it says, is the point 16, 20 on the line L? Explain how you know. So again, I can say yes or no, and I'm going to make a statement after that. So I say yes because 20 over 16 is the same as 5 over 4. Then I can say the slopes are going to be equal. So I'm talking about this. So let me kind of highlight where I'm at here. Let's say, I can say, again, I have change in y over change in x is equal to your slope. So just always remember that you can have that for your slope. So make sure if you're saying, again, also notice how they drew the side lengths. This is 4 and this is 5. So our slope is going to be 5 over 4. And again, you can write those ordered pairs or write that ratio. For part C, we can say no, since 24 over 20 is not equal to 5 over 4. For part D, we could say yes because 100 over 80, even though it's really far away from our current graph, we can still say it's an equivalent ratio. So it's just like when we're making those similar triangles, those corresponding side lengths are equal. And then for part E, it says write a rule that will allow you to test whether you know x and y is on the line L. So it has to be for any line xy, or sorry, for any point xy, I should say. But as long as we talk about that ratio being equal to 5 over 4, then we know we're good. All right, so for number 3, it says consider the graphed line. It says my uses a triangle A and says that the slope is 6 over 4. Elena uses triangle B and says no, the slope of this line is 1.5. Do you agree with either of them? And explain how you know. So make sure you can kind of practice this for yourself. You can pause if you need to, try it out for yourself. That way you can check. So then I can say, well, actually they are both correct. The slope of the line can be found using any triangle with legs parallel to the axes and longest side on the line, as any two such triangles are similar. Or you could say numerically this checks out because 6 divided by 4 and 1.5 represent the same value. So again, just like we've been talking about those similar triangles, they are the corresponding side length ratios are equivalent. So now on the back, it has for number 4, it says a rectangle has a side length of 6 and a height of 4. Which of these tell you quadrilateral ABC is definitely not similar to this rectangle? Select all. Again, make sure you're careful when you're saying select all. You're probably going to have more than one answer. So for this one, I'm going to say that A, B, and E are going to be the ones that would not be similar to this triangle. So make sure, again, you're saying, notice how A and B, again, those opposite side lengths cannot be equal. You have the measures of a triangle on that one, so it can't work out. And then for part E, notice how it's not the same. It has to be those side lengths can be multiplied to get a new side length. Now for lesson 12, again, if you're using the online website, feel free to check those out because your practice problems are on there too if you need the translations. For number 1, it says select all points that are on the line through 0, 5 and 2, 8. So I can say, okay, is again, multiple options for this. So I'm going to say for this one, A, C, and D. And if I look at this, I can write kind of like I did before. I can write my slope formula. So I have 8 minus 5 divided by 2 minus 0. That's going to be the same as 3 over 2. So as long as we have 3 over 2, then we know we're good. So that would be our slope for this line. For number 2, it says all 3 points are displayed on the line. Find an equation relating to x and y. So you're kind of noticing how it's just a random point on the line, but it gives us 2 points that are already on the line, so that way we can kind of write that ratio. As I look at this, I notice, hey, if I'm looking at this line, I'm moving 2 up and 1 to the right to get to my next point. So 2 up, 1 to the right, I can draw that pattern. So I can say for this one, if I write my equation, I would say my change in y, it would be y minus 3, and my change in x would be x minus 3. Again, I'm using this ordered pair to get to this new point. So again, you're saying this horizontal length is x minus 3, the vertical length is y minus 3. But it has to equal 2 because our slope is 2. So make sure you're saying, again, your slope is 2. All right. For problem number 3, it says here's triangle ABC. And it says for the first one, draw the dilation of triangle ABC with center to 0 and scale factor of 2. So again, make sure you're doing this. Make sure you're counting. So count steps away from center of dilation and multiply by scale factor. So for example, if I'm my center dilation is 2, 0, that's going to be on this point here. So if I'm looking at my length from 2 to 5, that's going to be 3. So that means that I have to be twice that length. So if I look at my next point, or my next picture, I can say that this is going to be my new triangle. So let me do an actually purple. So this triangle is going to be the new triangle. So I can say, notice that this side length right here is 6 long now. So make sure you're saying, again, you're multiplying that side length by that scale factor. Or sorry, you're multiplying that distance from the center of dilation and drawing your new line. Same thing with B. We have to draw a dilation of triangle ABC with center 2, 0 and scale factor of 3 now. So we should actually have a bigger picture than the previous one, which is good because that is what we have. So we have scale factor 3. So our side length on the bottom, we have 3, 6, 9. So this side length should be 9 now. So make sure you're drawing that triangle for each of those points. And now we're going to have a smaller triangle because we have that scale factor of 1/2. And so our picture is going to be this smaller triangle. It's going to be half the distance from the center of dilation. Then for number 4, it says here are some line segments. And it says which segment is a dilation of BC using A as the center of dilation with scale factor 2/3. So for this first one, I can say it's going to be, let's say, FH as a segment. So we're talking about this one here. So we're going to say that's going to be our 2/3 scale factor. Notice how it is smaller than BC, so I know that it's going to be that one. Then for part B, which segment is a dilation of BC with the center A and a scale factor of 3/2 now. So I can say that this one is going to be GJ, that segment GJ, because we're talking about this line here. So notice how this line is slightly longer than BC because our scale factor is only 3/2. And then it says which scale factor or which segment is not a dilation of BC, and how do you know? So for this one, we can say so let's do green for this one. So let's say the only other segment is DE, and it says dilations take parallel lines. So it should be another parallel line. Notice how each of these dilations GJ and FH are both parallel lines. However, if we look at ED, notice how if we can continued out those lines, it would not be a parallel line. So dilations would work for parallel lines as well. So make sure that you're pausing your video, ask questions if you need to, and as always, super slam that subscribe button.